Good morning, students. Today we shall continue with our discussion about two important topics, two important trends that we come across in the dawn of the early modern period. The one is Renaissance, which we are going to see now. Renaissance, Renaissance, Renaissance. Okay, right. Now, before I talk about the Renaissance, now here I would like you to see these pictures. You find them in a book also. Here also you can see. Now here what you see is a kind of ancient Greek temple in Rome. Of course, when I was studying in Rome, almost every day I have to pass through these temples. Now it's not an ancient temple anymore. It is a Christian church now. The ancient Greek temple was converted into the Christian church. The same model you see here. It's a pantheon. Okay, so it's a pantheon. It is the interior. This one is the interior of the pantheon, and here we find another important architect from pantheon, which we find in Paris also. No, it's a dome actually. But still we also have got another pantheon in Paris. Okay, what is pantheon? You see here centuries ago, before the birth of Christianity, it was the Romans who were ruling almost half of Europe. Before Romans, it was Greeks. So first we say that it all began from the Macedonians. Okay, so Macedonians, we find Alexander. From Macedonians we have Persians. Okay, from Persians we have Romans, and from Romans the Christianity almost Christianized the whole of Roman Empire. Okay, now these things Persians go up and then Macedonians they come down. Macedonians are the Greeks. Okay, so first we have the Persians, and then we have Macedonians are actually Greek, and then we have Romans, and we have Christianity. Okay, that is a trend. Okay, right. Now here what you see here is just expression of this period, Macedonian period. There we have great emperors. Okay, and those emperors, they were thirsting for knowledge, and it is in those times we have the birth of Aristotle, Socrates, Aristotle, Plato. So Socrates was a teacher of both Plato and Aristotle. It was these people who were encouraging others to think critically, not to accept anything blindly. Okay, now even the religion of their time was also so much accommodating, means it was welcoming everything. Okay, they had gods for so many other natural entities. God of thunder, God of lightning they had, and Zeus is supposed to be the head of all the gods. Okay, right. Now here people were so much scared. They were so religious, and they were also very scared of offending unknown gods. So they built this kind of temple. Okay, pantheon, almost in all parts of the empire, Greek Empire, Macedonian Empire, and Romans kept up to that tradition. They had their own religion acquired from the Greeks. Okay, now this temple you see, there is an opening here on the rooftop. Here there is an opening. Okay, why that opening means is that inside the temple you won't find any kind of statues. Rather you find so many drawings, so many quotations and so on. Of course now we have statues. Okay, since it is the whole pantheon, the pagan, they call pagan temple, is Christianized. Now we have, it is a basilica dedicated to Mother Mary. Okay, now but some thousands of years ago it was not a basilica at all. Before the advent of Christianity, it was just a pantheon. Okay, pantheon with the open roof. Why open roof? So people were thinking that this temple is meant for all the gods, even for the gods whom they never ever know. Okay, so they didn't want to offend any gods. So they were all having so many gods. Okay, so they didn't want to offend any god, and therefore open roof means it is a place where all the gods they come and meet, and people will come, they offer prayers, they offer sacrifices and go. Okay, that is the accommodation, which means the people accommodate everything. Okay, right. Now that was a trend of the ancient period. Now what happened after the advent of Christianity? All these things were totally destroyed. Destroyed in the sense they never Christianity never destroyed these structures, but they destroyed the very reason of this structure, and they converted everything into Christian churches. Okay, right. Now what happened? This Renaissance, you see here, Renaissance. Um, it is a word, Renaissance. It's a movement. No, it's not a movement actually. It is a kind of a way of life. Okay, it was a period of change. Just before the Renaissance, what happened? Christianity took over almost whole of Europe, and they destroyed all the pagan writings, even the writings of Socrates and the writings of Aristotle, the writings of Plato. Okay, they studied all these writings and simply converted them into Christian theology, means Christian spirituality. Even whatever Socrates said, they said he was meaning only about the Christianity, and whatever Plato was saying, they converted his thought into Christianity. What Aristotle was saying, they converted him into Christianity to make you more understand. Okay, so that's how everything was changed, and the Christianity actually discouraged anyone studying about the ancient Greek text and ancient Latin texts. They said they are all evil. Whatever text that talks about human man, okay, they considered it to be heresy. Anathema means go to hell like. Okay, so there was no proper growth in human reason, no discoveries. Okay, no discoveries. It was the church leaders, Christian leaders, who were almost ruling the whole of the kingdom. Even they were controlling the knowledge in those almost 10 centuries. Okay, now what happened as a reaction to that trend of medieval period, we have the birth of the modern era, modern period. Okay, now Renaissance paves way for that. Renaissance means very very simple. It is not a one word. It is a coinage of two words. And Natre, N-A-I-T-R-E. Okay, so renatre means rebirth. Natre, actually it is a French word, natre, which means birth. Okay, so renatre means it's a French word for rebirth. So what's a rebirth here? It is this period in which they had the chance to rediscover. Rediscover means again to find out. Okay, so rediscover the ancient knowledge. What is the ancient knowledge? Ancient knowledge was expressed in Greek and Latin text. Okay, so here we see most of Latin and Greek classics focused on humanity and human life. So if you just take up the study of Socrates or Plato or Aristotle, they are concerned about human life, how man has to live, how man has to treat others, how man has to relate to others, how man has to live in unity. So he talked about humanity, humanism, human life. That's how we see that first thing that happened in this period was the birth of humanism. So here you see here the birth of humanism. So this particular teaching, ancient classics, they were not actually concerned about God. They are concerned about man, because no one sees God. We all see man only. So that's the reason why a study that is focused on human beings, it is also known as humanism. Okay, so this particular study was different from religious thought. So in the religious thought, what we actually find is that man is full of evil, God is pure, God is good, God is perfect. Therefore, what man has to do? Man has to attain God, man has to please God, and man need not necessarily relate to other human beings. What is important for him is God. Okay, so man is not important. That was the thought of the medieval period. Man is not important, only God is important. Okay, so this trend naturally, slowly, they rediscovered the wisdom of the ancient period. they rediscovered the wisdom of the ancient period, and then again they started studying. Okay, so in the medieval period, that another important thing that we see is that the church, okay, church means Christianity, they banned anybody from reading the Greek classics. Greek and Latin and Greek classics were banned. People should not read them because it is full of evil. It doesn't talk about God, it only talks about man. Therefore, church leaders, they were thoroughly discouraging. If anyone is found to be reading these Latin and Greek texts, they will be put to death. They will simply be destroyed. Okay, so that's how we see that kind of restriction. But what happened after 1300s? What happened? There is a change. Change is taking place, and people slowly, this middle class, we say, the middle class, we saw in the previous section, the people of that category, people who are educated, the merchants, the businessmen who travel from one place to another place, who are actually involved in business, who are actually involved in the king's court. Okay, they are all knowledge people. They bring all their experience wherever they journey. They bring in their experience, they put them together, and they actually critically look at everything. That's how they found out the beauty of the ancient text, ancient classics. So they start studying. That's what we also call as the humanism. Okay, right. Now whatever I said about the Middle Ages, the medieval period, is here. Okay, so you will find them here. So you read it. Okay. Now what happens? Just before during the medieval period was that what happens in the Islamic kingdoms. Okay, now Islamism and Christianity, they are all actually in contemporary religion. Okay, after some years of Jesus' birth, death, and resurrection, we have also the invent of the advent of Islamism. Okay, we have the advent of Milad, Nabi. Okay, and then we have the beginning of Islamism. Okay, we also have the Islamic kingdom. Okay, part of the Christianity was actually won over by the Islamism in the 14th century. What happened when Christianity was going through these kind of too much religious fanatic ideas? We see that there was some kind of change in the Islamic kingdom. They actually devoted themselves to studying the knowledge. They devoted themselves to study about the human beings. Okay, they started studying about Greek and so on. Okay, however, Islamic kingdoms, you read here of Iran, Iraq, etc., continue to translate the study of the classics. Those Greeks and Latin texts, classics, they were all in Greek and Latin. So ordinary people wouldn't be able to understand. So what these people actually were doing is they were translating everything. Now we have got the text of Aristotle, we have got the text of Plato in English. We also have got them in Hindi. It's because people who learn them well actually translate them into our own mother tongue so that everybody can understand. Okay, so that's how these Islamic scholars were actually translating the literary classics of China, India, Iran, Greek, Greece into Arabic, Persian. Okay, so the entire Islamic region from Asia to Europe was exposed to a mixture of Chinese, Central Asia, Indian, Iranian, Iraq, Egyptian, Greek, and other cultures. You see here how language plays a very important. So it is a language that brings all those ancient Greek texts, Latin texts into life, so that people, they read them, and people, they understand them, and people, they begin to critically analyze every situation. They begin to critically look at every order of the kings. They are able to ask questions. Okay, so when interest in Greek and Latin classics revived in Western Europe around 14th century, which means 1500s, okay, the classic texts preserved in Arabic translations came in handy. Okay, so naturally what happened, these classic texts were already translated in Arabic, and from Arabic, these Western Europe, slowly they brought them into their own language. Also ancient mathematical and astronomical knowledge from India and scientific knowledge from China found their way into European scholars. This is how we we see about what really happened during the Renaissance period of Renaissance. Okay, right now we will study about humanism in Europe, how the humanism started in Europe. Okay, now here you see a person. He is called Francesco Petrarch. He is an Italian from Italy. Okay, so it was he who began the translation, showing interest to the Greek text. How it all began, we see. The European scholars began taking an interest in studying Latin and Greek texts around 1300s CE. Expanding trade, urbanization, the rise of powerful monarchies were creating new jobs, especially for the middle class families. Okay, now in these things, what really happens now? The Latin scholar Francesco Petrarch. So he is a Francesco Petrarch. Sorry, he is a Francesco Petrarch. So we see here that the Latin scholar Francesco Petrarch, born in Italy, is considered to be the person who assured the humanist movement. At least, almost he was one who began the movement. Okay, how he began? He was really sad, distressed by the fact that people at that time were not using the language properly. There was no a proper language. When you go to Italy, people speak it. All people speak Italian language, but no, there are number of dialects they have. I know Italian. Okay, I studied in Italian, but when I go to far down south, the way people speak, it will be quite difficult for you to understand because it's totally a different dialect. Though language is same, but dialect is different. So this person, Francesco Petrarch, was first of all, he was very, very sad, disturbed by the way people were speaking, using their language. So what he actually did, he began studying Latin classics to understand more about the language. Actually, Italian is the offshoot of Latin, just like Hindi from Sanskrit. No, so Italian is from Latin. So he wanted to correct the language first of all. So he started studying the Latin classics to understand more about the language and its uses. Then what happened? Studying about the classics also gave him another opportunity to learn about the world better. You see, he found that the ancient texts not only helped him to learn how to use the language correctly, but also how to think critically to understand the world better. So the classical text actually does not only help a person to learn the language correctly, but also to think critically to understand the world better. That's very, very important. That is a hallmark of every philosophers of that period. Then what happened? Then now he started translating and then giving his own commentary. Then it was during that time there is an invention of printer by German artisan Johannes Gutenberg. It was Johannes Gutenberg who invented the printer. Okay, so the invention of printing press is a boom in the history of mankind. So it was very easy to publish a book. Okay, the early time what happened, to publish a book, it was very difficult because they have to write. There were scribes called scribes, SCRIBES. Their work is only to write the copies of the book. Okay, it takes so much time. No, to write a Bible, it will take almost 6 months to write one copy. So imagine, not everybody can afford to buy it. And even if you have money to buy it, very difficult. You need time. But the invention of the printing press made life very easy, very much easier. So almost everybody were able to buy the copies of the Bible. They were able to buy the copies of the ancient classic texts in their own language. So that actually became a turning point in the history of humankind. Hundreds of copies of books could now be easily printed. Scholars far and wide could lay their hands on printed copies of old and new books. This stimulated debate and exchange of ideas between people. So when you are exposed to the knowledge, what happens now? You discuss about what you actually learned. And when you discuss about what you have actually learned, then there is a creation of new ideas. New ideas begin to emerge. That's exactly what happened during the Renaissance period. When the printing press, while printing gave an impetus to the study of Greek and Latin texts, the scholars chose to write in regional language. So they translated all the Latin and the Greek texts into Italian, German, English, Flemish, French, and so on. Okay, now these humanists, people who are concerned about the Latin text, the ancient classics, they are called humanists, no longer hesitated to add their views about church and to even criticize it, even if they depended on church for their living. This is exactly what happened when they started studying about what is the importance of human beings that is mentioned by centuries uh, before by these classic writers. They actually questioned about why church in a way, the Christianity in a way, has degraded the very aspect of meaning of human life. They started asking question. Okay, even our own priests, the fathers, they started asking questions, because once they are well versed in all these things, then they begin to understand that of course God is important, but provided God has given us a life, and that life it's not an individual life, we all live together, therefore there is a unity. God created us so that we love each other and we love God. That's very important. But church was saying love only God. Okay, so that's how we find a change in the very thinking of human being. And another important person that we come across is a Dutch humanist, Erasmus. He is actually a priest. Erasmus, what he did, Greek Christians as well, the original Greek Bible, he pointed out that Erasmus pointed out. So he was very much influenced in. He was very busy with translating the Greek version of Bible into different local language. In the early, some centuries ago, Bible was only in Latin and Greek. No one should translate the Bible, which means only the learned people, only the priests, only the fathers or bishops, they can read the Bible. Ordinary people cannot read the Bible, should not read the Bible. Okay, now what happened? Now he started the translation of the Bible into the local languages, Erasmus. Okay, so he wrote a satirical book. In a comical way. That satirical book means in a comical way, in a funny way, he tries to explain the errors, the mistakes. Okay, so in Praise of Folly, so here he took a critical look at many churches' views and actions about people not reading the Bible. Okay, now another important thing that we find here: did women also participate in humanist studies? Very rare, we can say very rare, but still we have some women who came out of this closed scenario. So even just like in our country, even in Europe also, women were considered to be only taking care of the household activities. Okay, so what happened, they were not really allowed to study anything. Okay, they have to cook and take care of their husband, their children, that's all. But even then, we find some women who really came out of those limited environment, closed environment. Example is Cassandra Fedele from Italy. She believed that women too should be allowed to learn the classics. In those days, Venice was a republic, but women weren't allowed to participate in public life. So Cassandra Fedele, felt this was a barrier that limited freedom and democracy and gave precedence to the new needs and wishes of men. So she said, women also must be allowed to enjoy the freedom that we have discovered, the freedom to study about our life, the freedom to live with dignity. So she really fought for that in those periods. She was among the first women to criticize the male-centric system, which means we say patriarchal system, a system that is focused mainly upon male, okay, men, not women. Okay, so she said, no, there should be equality. Everybody is human being. Man is a human being and woman is a human being. Therefore, we are all equal. There should be no partial. There should be no inequality, she said. And another important humanist that we come across at this period of time is Italian philosopher Niccolo Machiavelli. He is known for this particular book called The Prince. This book is actually, I will call it as an evil book, because this book talks about how a ruler has to take over the people, how a ruler can cheat the people. So even these humanists, some were so evil about their own ambitious life. Okay, now this particular book describes how a king can acquire autocratic power, how a king can acquire the power by freeing himself of all moral compunctions. Okay, so this is how in one way it was positive, in another way it was negative. So in this way we see how the study of ancient classics gave rise to humanism. Humanist studies strengthen people's powers of self-expression. You have to express yourself. And critical thinking, you must think. Whatever one says, you should not believe immediately. You must think critically whether the particular thing that a person says is right or wrong, whether you can accept or not accept, what will happen to you if you are going to accept. Though that is what we call as the critical thinking. It's very, very important. It eventually led to opposition of the church. So it was during this time that we have so many oppositions, divisions in the church, in the Christianity. Among the permanent changes it made. Okay, now in the later portions we'll be studying about Reformation. Okay, so that Reformation is actually the result of the Renaissance. Okay, what happened? The Renaissance that brought in the movement of Reformation. Reformation happens within the Catholic Church, within the Christianity. Okay, right. So with that we finish what really happened in the intellectual field. Now we also have got a little bit of influence of the Renaissance period in India. So it was during those time we have the rule of the Mughals. It was a Mughal emperors who were ruling India. Okay, now they encouraged people to think, to write critically, to study the ancient classics. Okay, now this was the age when munshis and munims, they became so indispensable, which means very, very important. How? Munshis are the educators, teachers, and munims are the accountants. So these two people are very, very important in a king's court or in a society. Educators, teachers are very, very important, and even the accountants are very, very important. So knowledge and money, very, very important. So munshis are educators and munims are those who deal with the accountants. Okay, now to study, to be an educator and to be an accountant, one has to have the knowledge of the ancient classic texts. That gives you an information about everything in life, the whole aspect of life. Okay, so that's how the middle class during the Mughal period had one more striking feature, that is this. Okay, so it represented a mix of Indian and Central Asian cultures. The people took inspiration from all these different sources. This influenced the way they lived and the lifestyle they adopted. That was not all. Though they depended on emperors and kings for their livelihood, they were proud of their independence. So even though they were ruled by the emperors, but still their knowledge made them free. They were independent. They were given enough and more opportunity to add their own ideas. This is exactly what happened. For example, many munshis even criticized Aurangzeb for their religious policy, for his religious policy. Aurangzeb was supposed to be a fanatic emperor of the Mughal period. Okay, but it was these munshis, the accountants of the empire. They voiced their opinion against Aurangzeb, and the Emperor Aurangzeb had to retrace his steps. Okay, so that's how the knowledge really works out. And another important thing that we find here in the Renaissance period is new artistic trend. It's not trends, it's a trend. Trend, Trend. Okay, it's not A but rather E. Trends. Okay, I'm not going to deal with much about this one. It all talks about the structure you see, about the buildings, about the paintings and so on. Okay, so this Renaissance, the rediscovery of the ancient classics, not only gave the intellectual boost to all those people who are living in those period. It made them to rediscover about the importance of man, but also it brought out their own creativity from the field of architects, buildings. So you see here this technique of using domes. So mostly if you go to Europe, you will find these pillars, okay, no, even no, this was influence of the modern period, okay. And then we have these structures. So I have been to this place, no, Notre Dame Cathedral in Rome. Recently it was no, met with fire accident, okay. And then Roman ark, this ark we'll find everywhere. Even in India we have got two, no, India Gate ark in Delhi we have this one, and in Bombay also we have, okay. So all these, they have their connection with the Renaissance period. So people, they try to um, uh, they not only studied the ancient texts but also brought everything to life. You see here, the figure 6.6 Roman arch shows the arches used in Roman Empire 2000 years ago to support the weight of roof structure, okay. So people made use of this technology even after 2000 years. They learned from their ancestors. So this is how we find these. And domes, another important defining characteristics of the artistic expression is a domes. This is a dome, okay, like cone shape, no. Yeah, if you can also see this is dome. St. Peter's Basilica, okay. Even no, here you see it is dome, and what you see here, it is also dome, okay. Now this trend is actually even no Taj Mahal. It's also expression of the modern culture, dome, okay, like Vatican, right? So all these things, no, here you see, no, temple in Jerusalem, okay. Everything is the expression of the Renaissance period, which actually rediscovered 2000-year-old practice, which actually died during the medieval period, but gave again it became a it experienced rebirth. That's what we call as Renaissance, okay. So you better read everything, okay. I'm not going to read anything. And another important thing is the painting, no. In those period we have very important famous painters. We have the Raphael, no, famous painter. And we also have no, Da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci, and Michelangelo. It was Michelangelo who designed this basilica. It was Michelangelo who designed this one, St. Peter's Basilica, okay. Michelangelo and Da Vinci, they are all great architects. So these people, they actually learned from the classics and they brought them to life. They never let anything to die, okay. Now here, one defining characteristic that we find during this period regarding the picture drawing is that color techniques and science. With new colors being introduced from India, Iran, artists began experimenting with colors and methods. Now see, we have lakhs and lakhs of colors. How? Now by mixing one color with another color, new color is born. So that particular science of mixing the color and bringing out a new color, actually it was existing thousands of years ago, during the time of Romans, during the time of Greeks, okay. But it was forgotten for almost 1000 years. Then at the beginning of this Renaissance period, this particular thing was rediscovered, okay. So this is exactly what we find, okay. Now it's another expression of the Renaissance period, okay. Now the picture of Mona Lisa, I have seen this one, very beautiful picture by the Da Vinci. It is here in Paris, the museum of Louvre museum, okay. Right, now two important painters are in Italy. We will see them, Da Vinci and Michelangelo. These are the two important painters of the Renaissance period, okay. So Da Vinci was also a scientist, okay, a sculptor, an artist, an inventor, a painter. He was a perfect example of the Renaissance man. Da Vinci is a perfect example of Renaissance, the period, with his many sided personality. He was all in all, okay. With his many sided personality and wide range of interests, his most widely discussed painting is a Mona Lisa. You see that painting, okay. So it depicts a woman with a captivating smile, beautiful smile. Okay, another important person we find is Michelangelo. He's counted among the most prominent artists in the world history. No one has ever beat Michelangelo. No, it is a piece of the painting that you find in the Sistine Chapel in Rome, in Vatican. Okay, I have seen, very beautiful. It is just carved over the whole roof. You will see the beautiful picture of he's a god and man. No, they meet. Uh, Actually, it is supposed to be one picture. I don't know what really happened. Okay, I'll try to post these pictures here in the site. You can see it. So this is how we find the expression of the Renaissance period. Okay, it's another sculptural art of Michelangelo. This you could see in Vatican. As you enter into St. Peter's Basilica, right side, as you enter very right side, you find the sculpture of Pieta. Very beautiful. It is made up of one marble, and every minute detail you will find the how the density of the cloth and how it is folded. Okay, and then you see the picture how lively it is. Okay, that's how. So these people, they try to be minute about every aspect of man. You see Jesus, Mary who carries dead Jesus, how the body is. Okay, so these painters, these artists of that period, they simply they simply uh, took in every aspect that they learned, and they try to bring it out. Okay, and another important thing. Okay, now we'll discuss about it in the next video. It's already big time. Thank you.